Well, hey everybody, welcome to episode 21 of Totally Amazing Mushrooms. It's the middle of January, and look at how amazing it is. The sun's come out, and it's just gotten just absolutely beautiful. But we're on a journey to go out and find some fungal buddies. And there's not a lot out there, again, but, you know, we're going to see what we can see. So come for a walk with us. These guys are always a treat to find. Look at this little toothed cone lover here. This is Arscalpium vulgare. See the little teeth on it? It was originally put in the Hydenum genus, and then it was described in 1821 as Arscalpium vulgare by Samuel Frederick Gray. Sammy Fred. Yeah, he wrote a book, The Natural Arrangement of British Plants, where he described it there. And there was if you recall, on a few episodes back, we did a comparison on these guys. There was a Mycena, and then there was the Strobilurus trellisatus. And it was a great episode, so if you missed it, go back and look for that. Either way, there was a couple of mycologists that were really choked, saying that he didn't follow the Linnaeus taxonomy rules when he did it, and they tried to call it Arscalpium, and then that just got booted in the bum. Either way, not edible. Well, they are classified actually as edible, but they're so tiny, you know. And the stipe is just a really wiry little thing, and a lot of times they can fork and make two out of one stipe. This one looks like two separate ones, but sometimes they'll even make like a little candelabra of several little heads and stipes, but most of them will be sterile. There will only be probably the main one and maybe another one that might be able to produce spores. But yeah, pretty wild. I just love these. It's just always, like I say, it's a treat to come across these guys. But yeah. And just the tiniest tiny one right beside it. Cool. Alright, well, let's carry on down the trail. We'll put you back, right back where you were, hiding ever so well. These guys are all over the forest right now, these Mycenas. And I don't know what they are. There's like 600 different species of them. But, you know, these are bigger, like, look, they're the size of a toonie, so they might be Galericulata, I'm not sure. But Mycenas, they're just little white spored guys, and just all over the forest floor right now. But right beside them are these guys here, the Hyphiloma fasciculare. And these guys just keep coming back, you know. We just did a thing on them about 2 months ago, and then they disappeared. They went back into the environment, and they're back again in the same spot, you know, inhabiting the same roots and whatnot. We got little tiny Mycenas growing on the side of this balsam, this dead Abies balsamia here. You can see it's all been attacked by woodpeckers, and the top's off of it too. I'm not gonna, well, there's the top of it over there. It's been all chopped up. But the great thing is these guys are beautiful in the daytime and dark mode. Look at these guys. They're just all through here actually. Dun, dun, dun. I just absolutely love this UV light. So cool. Yeah, mushrooms are just amazing in themselves, and then when you get the this luminescence, it makes them even cooler. Wow, man. Eerie. Oh, here's another cool find. Right on. We got on this barkless conifer branch here. This is Guapiniopsis alpina, and this is the poor man's gumdrop. It's also called the jelly cup, and it's also called the alpine jellycone. And it attaches at this tiny little spot at the bottom, and they can look like a little cone. And this flat surface here is the spore surface, right there. So these look a lot like the Dacrymyces chrysospermus, the witch's butter. They are not. They are in the Dacrymycetaceae family, though, so they are related in that way. Now, we described the chrysospermus not too long ago in one of the episodes, And I didn't have an alpine jelly at that point, but I do now. And the great thing is just over yonder, I've got some more Dacromyces chrysospermus, so we can take a look at them side by side. And yeah, some say that they're edible, some guides say they're not edible. I've eaten them. They've got no flavor. You could probably candy them, but they're so tiny. Again, you know, if you're going to candy anything, do the Pseudohydnum gelatinosum, do the cat's tongue. That's a cool one. So back in around 1901, the original name was by Samuel Tracy and Franklin Earl. So yeah, Sam and Frank, or you could call them Tracy and Earl, either one. They did their first description back then. And then it got changed to Heterotextus around 30 years later. And then in 1938-ish, it got its now known name, Gopiniopsis alpina. But these are just really, really cool. Okay, so I'm going to take us over to a Chrysospermus, and we'll do a little look-see at the two of them side by side. Here we go. We've got the Dacromyces chrysospermus, and we've got the Gopiniopsis alpina. And yeah, they're both in the Dacromycetaceae family, but quite a bit of difference here, you know. This one's a bit newer. These ones are getting kind of old and really gushy. Wow. Love these things though. Cool. Now they do say that you can get these confused with the Bispirella citrina. The Bispirella citrina is quite small. But you know what? We have a Bispirella citrina down the trail, so let's bring this stick along with us, and I'll see you over there. All right, well, as promised, here is the Bispirella. Look at how tiny those are. And when I bring in the Gopiniopsis, look at the size of them. All right, come on. How do you get those mixed up? Unless maybe you're farsighted or something along those lines. Either way, we've got Bispirella citrina, and we've got Gopiniopsis alpina. And you won't find either of these in China or Reykjavik. A few critters on the lake today. These are the hooded mergansers, Lophodites cuculatus. Yeah, they got kind of a white hood on them, which gives them away. And the males, there he goes. Beautiful. And then we've got a bunch of Canadian geese here. These are the Branta canadensis. And they hang out here a lot in the wintertime. Normally we only have about 12 to 14. But it looks like we probably got about close to 20 here this year. That's cool. Now I have not seen the mallards. The green-headed mallards, those are the Anas platyrenchos. Anas platyrenchos. But I haven't seen them yet. But when I do, I'll let you know. Yeah, we have a few that have their babies here, and a lot of the babies get picked off by the eagles. Because we have a family of eagles here too. Ooh, look at these black-capped beauties here. A beautiful pink margin on them. That's awesome. Look at the shelves that they form. They're not really thick. They're only about probably half an inch thick. And they're kind of almost, well, not kind of almost, they are fused together. This is one that I had cut off because or a chunk of it. I wanted to show you the pore surface. And they have beautiful pink spore surface as well. And I believe this is Rhodophomys kajanderi, the rosy conch. You'd never know it from the top side, but yeah, they get this, they all start fusing together, and they're called a brown pocket rot decayer. And they're very similar to the Leptoporus mollis, the pink sherbet, except they don't get this black on top like these ones do. They'll get brown, and then they'll, but the entire body of those guys will turn pink, like pretty much. A little bit on the top will stay brown, but the rest of their body of the pink sherbet will turn pink, whereas these guys, usually just the margins like this and the spore surface. Just beautiful though. You know, we need all these guys to chow down on these fallen logs and whatnot to decompose it and break it down so we can feed all the other plants and fungi out in the forest as well. But yeah, these guys are just going crazy. Like there's a bunch more back there on that log if you can kind of see them. Really cool. Anyways, moving on. And this old stump here has a lot of nice moss on it. This is a prime spot for winter chanterelles, but never ever ever have I ever had, never ever ever have I ever had winter chanterelles growing here. But this year, like I said, I took some and I planted them. So I put some winter chanterelles that I'd plucked out of another area, and I stuffed them in here and covered them over, and I planted them in several spots all the way around the stump in the moss. And they like rotting wood, and they like moss, and they like dark areas, and this has got all of those components. So fingers crossed, we'll see what happens in the next few years. I also took them from different areas, so you're not necessarily having the same genetics in all of the mushrooms that I stuffed in here. So kind of doubling the chances. First of all, like I said, there was viable mycelium at the base of the stipes that I put in there, and for sexual reproduction they need two distinct genetics to actually form a new hyphae and form their mycelial mat and then do their thing, right? So yeah, just kind of making the odds a little bit more in my favor, because I love the winters, man. They're just so good. Old man winters. Excellent. All right, and I will keep you updated, which will be, you know, obviously in the next year or two. So we'll see you then. We've got some beautiful little corals here, little brown corals by the looks of things here. Wow, they're quite dainty. Ouch. It's hard to get in here. I got a bunch of stuff. I'm always fighting some kind of branch of some kind. So there's quite a few little brown corals like this. But the question is it Phaeoclavulina abiatina? Is it Phaeoclavulina myceliosa? Is it Phaeoclavulina eumorpha? Or is it Phaeoclavulina curta? Well, we can go through a few different things here, talk about these. Now, I didn't talk about the Ramaria genus, even though the Phaeoclavulina myceliosa is actually still in the Ramaria. It hasn't been officially classified as Phaeoclavulina. Now, the Phaeoclavulina abiatina is looks like this. It's a little bit coarser, but it bruises green at the base of the stipe, or at the base of the stalk there. And okay, so we're gonna take that one out because I took a piece off already and manhandled it to see if it was gonna bruise. So is it Phaeoclavulina myceliosa? Well, that one is more open branches, and they're thicker. They're thicker kind of branches. Okay, now is it Phaeoclavulina eumorpha? Okay, that one looks very much like the curta, which we're going to talk about in a second, but it has a yellow rhizomorph. Now, we talked about the rhizomorphs when we were doing the armillarias, the Solidipes or Ostoyae, and they have black rhizomorphs, which are basically a bunch of mycelium that have corded up together to form a stronger one, right? Okay, so that eumorpha actually has a yellow rhizomorph. Whereas the curta has white, and they're way smaller. And the curta, the Phaeoclavulina curta, is probably the smallest. Look at how dainty these are, and quite fine. Okay, and because I'm in a park, I can't go digging up all the soil around this guy and make a big mess, because we have to keep our parks pristine. So we've got these little beauties, and boy, do they ever look like a regular clavulina, except more brown. However, we have an actual clavulina right here on this bench here, and I have been manhandling this guy to see if it was going to stain. Now the tips didn't stain. It's not a Romeria apiculata. It's not the myceliosa, which also stains green. I believe this is Phaeoclavulina curta. And right here we have the Clavulina cristata right beside it. This guy is edible. This guy is unknown edibility, but look at how fine it is. It's really, really fine. You're not going to get anything out of them, really. They're going to shrivel up into little hairs, and that's about it. And these guys can have 2 to 4 points on their tips. As I'd mentioned before, they have that compound alpha-paraneric acid in them, which helps transport fats and cholesterol through our bloodstreams without leaving plaques and everything on the sides of our arteries and whatnot. But that's all I have for these guys. So, I believe we have the Phaeoclavulina curta. Okay, moving on. Literally getting showered upon by their wood chips they're flinging. About 15 feet out from the base of the tree. This is the pileated woodpecker, Dryocopus pileatus, and there's another one right there. Really zoomed in, so I'm sorry about the shaking. Alright, well here's one for all you arborists out there that might have some fruit trees in your yard. You may think that this looks like a chaga, which is Inonotus obliquus, but it is not. Black knot to be precise. This is Dibotrion morbosum, and it's in the Ascomycota division. Now these guys like to attack the Prunus genus, so you've got your apricots, your plums, your cherries, your sour cherries, etc., etc., etc. This is actually on a cherry tree, and it's a little sapling cherry tree that came out from the main cherry tree. But around 1800-ish, Louis David de Schwanitz, and you might recognize that name, the Phaeolus schweitzii was named after him. Now, he originally called it Apiosporina. Now, I guess it was about 115 years later, it got named to Dibotrion by Ferdinand Thesian. Now, he was an Austrian mycologist and a Jesuit priest. So, right on. Now, these knots are actually great for insects. And that's actually what's going to kill your tree. It's not actually the black knot itself. When these get older, the insects all move in, and then it just gets really, really punky and beaten to heck. I'm going to get you in for a little bit of a close-up here. And, yeah, look at this big gnarly thing. Yeah, there's a couple of them there. So what you're going to do is you're going to want to cut these sections out of your trees if you've got them on some of the branches, because the insects will move in and it will kill it, and eventually it'll go right down into the roots and it'll kill your cherry tree. So this one is coming out for sure. Now these guys actually have a 2-year life cycle. So their first wintering, they're going to develop inside the wood. You're not going to see it, and it's going to be growing all throughout the interior of it. And the following year is when the sexual spores are produced, and they'll get transferred out by rain and wind and whatnot. But yeah, the sexual spores are going to be formed in the ascus, or asci, because there's many of them. Asci is plural, and there's anywhere up to 8 spores in each asci. And the asexual spores, the conidia, they will disperse somewhat over the first season, but the main part is going to be the sexual spores in the second season, after the following winter. But the first year is the asexual part of the life cycle. So the second year, when it comes around, that's when you're going to see this black, gnarly looking stuff. But I just wanted to give you an idea of what might be growing on some of your fruit trees in your yard, if you're kind of wondering what it's all about. From a distance, This guy looks like it might be a Dacromyces. Then you get up close and you can see that it's a little capped mushroom. Now, I am not sure exactly what this one is. It could be the orange-gilled wax cap, Humidicutus marginata. I thought possibly Mycena acicula, but that one's kind of dainty. And I also thought possibly Mycena leaiana, but that one's likes hardwoods, and this one's a conifer, and I believe that they're also east of the Rockies. Now, there's a possibility that it's a Rickenella fibula. That's the orange moss navel, but that, geez, I don't know, man. That's supposed to be growing on moss, and there's no moss on this part of the log. Now, there's one that's a little bit bigger than the Rickenella fibula, Laurelea postii, but the gills are quite a lot closer together, and they're kind of whiter. So I am totally at a loss on this one. So if any of you amazing fungal enthusiasts out there have an answer for me, please let me know in the comments what you think this one might be. Now, it does have a white spore print, but that doesn't necessarily narrow it down very much. If anybody can help me out here on this one, that would be great, because I do not have that mushroom app that a lot of people have, because most of the fun for me is taking these home, doing a spore print on them, and then trying to figure out what they are. So that's why I don't have the mushroom app, and I'm not going to get it because I quite enjoy this. Alright, carrying on. If anybody can help me, that would be awesome. Well, that brings this episode to a close, my friends. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you on one of our next ones. If you enjoyed what you saw, please hit the thumbs up and subscribe button. Till next time, my friends.